Jai Mother. Charanam Sharanam Ramambige, Charanam Sharanam Trayambage. But the simple carol of this novice struck at your love. One plaintive little strain mingled with the great music of the world, and with a flower for a prize, you came down and stopped at my cottage door. Gitanjali. I remember that after my initiation, my first prayer to Mother was that she, in her compassion, may visit Trichur and give peace to my aged mother, who had suffered both in body and in mind. Mother had smiled in compassion, leaving it all to the divine will. On later occasions, too, in my love and anxiety for my mother, I had repeated the request both to Bhagawan and to Mother. In their usual kind and loving way, they assured us that they would try to grant us our wish. So for months, we had been hoping and praying for the much longed for event. But circumstances prevented the visit and it had to be postponed. Towards the end of October, we reminded Mother again of their promised visit to Trichur. They said they would try to come by the 15th of November, but that if for some reason that too became impossible, then they would not be able to come in the near future, since Mother would have to leave for Madras soon after. About the 10th of November, I got word that as both of them were not keeping good health, the proposed visit would not take place. The bitter disappointment that the news caused me and the other members of my family may well be imagined. My mother, who had been counting upon this visit, felt very dejected indeed. She would have gladly gone to Tellicherry, but her old age and ill health prevented her from going anywhere. The disappointment was so heavy that I could not help writing an appealing letter to Mother the same day. Then I spent my time those days in incessant prayer and repetition of Mother's divine name. Saturday, the 12th November 1949, will ever remain a day of hallowed memory to the members of our family. That night, I was sitting reading after supper at about 9 o'clock when I suddenly heard voices calling me by name. My heart fluttered with incredulous joy when I recognized the voices as saying, "Mother has come." I could not believe my ears. For a moment, I could not help wondering whether I was dreaming and imagining things. Almost beside myself with excitement, I flew to the door and opened it. I saw Mother coming up the path accompanied by Mr. and Mrs. S., her niece, and another disciple. I rushed down the steps and bowed low before her. My tears washed her feet. I took Mother and her companions inside, and we did our best to make them comfortable. It will be nearer truth if I confess that Mother helped herself to be at home. She must have noticed my bewildered condition. I was told that Mother had suddenly decided to come. My letter reached her that morning. It seems she received at the same time an appealing letter from my husband too, who was at Trivandrum. The mother's heart was torn with love for her children. Still, she could not leave Bhagawan, who was not in good health. However, Bhagawan saw the letters, and with his usual consideration, he insisted that Mother go to Trichur. Mr. S. very kindly offered to postpone their return to Madras and accompany Mother to Trichur. Yet I know by whose grace all this come to pass. That night, through the ill-lit streets, Mother had come walking more than 2 furlongs from the station. Also, they knew not the way in the darkness. The whole of next day, Mother stayed with us. It was a day of great rejoicing to us. Mother talked a few words in the morning to our family members and a few others. In the afternoon, Mother retired to her room. A few minutes later, we were surprised to see her coming down and going to my mother's room. I saw that Mother was in one of her exalted moods. Going straight to my mother, who was resting in bed, she literally took her up in her arms and began to speak to her softly, so softly that we could not hear the words. But my mother was listening as she had never listened to anything in all her life, and the gentle stream of comfort and wisdom worked its way into the depths of her heart. Then gently she placed my mother in the bed, and as she had come, she returned to her room. My mother afterwards told me that an inexplicable peace had stolen over her, and she lay for hours soothed and comforted. By that one loving touch and those few loving words, a new life of hope and peace began to dawn in that broken, suffering soul who had till then known only despair and desolation. My elder sister and her husband also received Mother's merciful grace, healing their heart's sorrow for their great loss of as only son. In the evening, our relations and friends arrived to see Mother. In the moods of ecstasy, she sometimes talked and sometimes went into Samadhi. Just then, my husband, his sister, and nieces arrived from Trivandrum. The previous night, I had wired to him about Mother's arrival. I was not sure whether he would be able to come as he had been ill. When she came out of Samadhi, Mother was very happy to find that he had come in spite of his ill health. She was visibly moved and spoke words of blessing to him. Soon after, Mother rose and began to sing the concluding prayer. Deep and melodious, her voice rang through the house. It stirred each heart, and one and all seemed to be caught in devotional rapture. The prayer ended with the words Shanti, 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 and with that, peace indeed seemed to descend on and pervade our home, where worldly sufferings had made havoc with many lives. It was getting late, and one by one people started taking leave of Mother. That night, Mother left for Tellicherry. We all gathered at the station, our hearts at once sad and happy, sad at having to part from her, happy in that she had been with us for those precious hours. And thus, Mother came and returned, lighting up our lives, rousing in each hearts joys afresh and hopes anew. We returned home, a home where her presence still seemed to glow, shedding peace and comfort all around. I went and bowed before the picture of Mother. And that night, as I sat before the picture, the events of the past few months came rushing to my mind, and there arose a myriad pictures of her, exquisitely fashioned and beautifully finished, as bewitching as the colors of a rainbow, and as varied of hues, each transmitting a meaning as distinct as the notes of music, yet blending into one sweet harmony whose rich cadence echoed and re-echoed in the innermost shrine of my heart. Picture after picture passed through my mind, slowly at first, Then in quick succession, the lady from Mangalore with strange spiritual power, that vague form hidden in the veil of her say, that I approached with fluttering heart and faltering steps, the gracious presence in the dark brown sari, from whose benign eyes mercy rained on me, and whose kind words and loving touch peace stole into me. The Sadguru drawing me on and on to the sunlit path of spiritual awakening. And then they came in bewildering rapidity, Mother Shakti in 100 moods, still in Samadhi, like a silent, solitary, snow-clad mountain peak, oblivious of the storm clouds striking round it far below, in bhava, bursting into melodious song, or the entrancing dance, or the impassioned speech, happy and playful, bubbling with laughter and innocent fun, anxious and unhappy at the thought of the chaos that oppress her beloved children, imperious and commanding, urging the faltering and the wavering into the straight path of earnest endeavor. They came past and repassed all the numberless phases of eternal motherhood, and lo, they blended and merged into one great, all-embracing shining being, gathering to itself the entire creation, the Divine Mother, at whose feet I fell prostrate and surrendered my all. Feelings of unutterable love, devotion, and gratitude overpowered me, and my heart rising in silent paean of thanksgiving burst into this immortal prayer. Let only that little be left of me whereby I may name thee my all. Let only that little be left of my will, whereby I may feel thee on every side, and come to thee in everything, and offer to thee my love every moment. Let only that little be left of me, whereby I may never hide thee. Let only that little of my fetters be left, whereby I am bound with thy will, and thy purpose is carried out in my life, and that is the fetter of thy love. Sharanam Sharanam Ramambige, Charanam Sharanam Trayambage. Jai Mother.